Calling this meeting on May 3rd, 2022. Meeting called to order, roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos,
Here.
Councilmember Bunker,
Here.
Councilmember Platt, he's here, Councilmember Clinton,
Here.
and Mayor Glaze.
Here.
It's the 10th. You said the 3rd.
Did I say the 10th?
No, you said the 3rd.
Oh, you're on the wrong page.
Man, we better get, sorry.
Go back.
Here we go back to my regular printout here. So, let's call the, so, let's pledge allegiance to the flag.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas flag. One.
Texas,
One
state,
under God,
one indivisible.
Thank you, Simon.
And okay.
Yes, and if you please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful to be here in Martindale, Texas, and we are so grateful to be able to serve you and to serve our city. Lord God, we just ask for your guidance in every decision and in everything that we do and say. And we just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Now, time for public hearing. I'll read this all out.
Yes.
Submission of 2 applications for 1 establishment seeking a certificate of appropriateness within the scenic corridor, chapter 150.052, and 1 specific use permit, chapter 155.040, as per the Code of Ordinances, for the purpose of including a drive-through for a new structure dine-in restaurant, El Taco Feliz, 408 Lockhart Street, Martindale, Texas, 78655. As per the Martindale City Ordinance, Chapter 155.0405, the zoning administrator shall present the following information to the commission at the meeting before the public hearing begins. Any permit information bearing on the application that may not be evident from the application, impact of approval of the request upon utility services, streets, and parking, and upon the local area, and any recommended for conditions, modifications, or any stipulation should the request be approved. And the time is
6:35.
6:35. So now it's time for public.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll start with a presentation of the materials, and I believe each of you council members should have in your packet the specific use application. We'll start there. So there's also a certificate of appropriateness involved, submitted as well. So the prior approvals before we get to a certificate of appropriateness is that the zoning allows for that use. And so the sequence and order of these things is specific use permit first, that takes care of the zoning, and then you can get to the certificate of appropriateness. The main issue here is that within our zoning ordinance, operating a drive-through window as part of a restaurant establishment within a mixed use district is not allowed. And so what we're looking to achieve through this zoning action is to either approve, deny, or approve with modification that application request. The nature of the project is the restaurant, a fixed, site-built structure, restaurant with a drive-through window will be built on the property that currently has the Taco Feliz taco truck. So they're creating a permanent restaurant facility in the community, and that's basically it. There's not a lot more to it. I don't know if Lisa, if you have anything to add to those comments or not.
Do you want me to go through the presentation as I did?
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
And we're on Zoom, you probably want to, you don't mind if I'm right here? Okay.
No problem.
If we're on Zoom, I probably need a microphone for.
Yeah, if you
those
want
on Zoom to get to hear. So as each of you have in your packets, I'm just going to make sure I turn my phone off. You know, you sometimes go to places and people forget to tell you, oh, by the way, would you please turn off your phone? Yes, there's phone calls coming in, which is the reason that I'm turning it off. Okay. There we go. All right, so you've got in your packet, as Jared has just described. First of all, let me back up. Good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission, Mayor, City Administrator, and residents, and concerned citizens of Martindale. We're glad that you are here.
And I would just like to say that we do have a judge that's in the audience,
Appreciate
Judge
that.
Barbara Molina, just to go ahead and acknowledge. her.
Acknowledge that. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Judge. We're glad you're here. So for the commission to go through the packet and just literally what I did is I took my entire folder of all of the information that I'd collected and reviewed and made a copy for the commission. So there would be no stones unturned. So I'm not going to read everything to you. I do believe that I heard, you all have page numbers, I don't, so I'm gonna look over your shoulder, but you're fine, no, you're fine, I can see. That glasses would help though. That there is an order for these types of approvals, and so for a specific use permit, the purpose of a specific use permit is to allow the establishment of uses which may be suitable only in a certain location in a zoning district or only when subject to standards and conditions that assure compatibility with the adjoining uses. Specific uses are generally compatible with permitted uses in a particular zoning district, but they require individual review, of which there's been plenty, of their proposed location or design and the imposition of conditions in order to ensure the appropriateness of the use at that particular location. I just wanted to call attention to the commission at the very bottom of that very same page, number 5, that this is the first time, and I want to say this for the public, since this is the first time that we've ever had a staff member who is a zoning administrator. It's the first time we've ever done a meeting like this. So we're making history, and I'm grateful and glad to be a part of it. So thank you for your patience. As part of number 5, the zoning administrator shall present the following information to the commission at the meeting before the public hearing begins. Any pertinent information bearing on the application that may not be evident from the application, impact of approval of the request upon the utility services, streets and parking, and upon the local area, and also any recommendations that I might have as a staff member for conditions, modifications, or stipulations should be requested or for you to request to approve or deny. One thing that I want to make evident is that by looking at the applications or the way that, or if we can go way to the top, I'm on page 5. If you would please, sir, thank you. And they're all sideways. Oh, that's great. Yeah, down below number 5. And it is highlighted. Thank you so much. That one thing that I wanted to make evident to the commission that you might not be able to determine based on the specific use application is that, one, I want you to know that this establishment has been in operation for 19 years. Is that correct? Okay. So that is one thing that I want you to know. I also want you to know that I have made phone calls to the water company to ensure that there will be water provided. I also am aware that there is wastewater services already on site. So that
A
is,
septic tank.
no, sir. Wastewater. They are, is that correct?
It's on sewage.
You're on wastewater.
There's sewage there already, but we're not.
They're going to hook up to it. That was
But
what
it
it was.
was on a septic tank.
It was on a septic tank, and when this becomes inactive, becomes active, they will be hooking up to the wastewater. Thank you. All right. There was some concern. I'm going to the next page, please, sir. Number 6, which is your number 2 to read ahead. There was some concern about which direction the city would be going to even consider this application. So the particular area and location where 408 Lockhart Street is located happens to be in a mixed use district. And so that kind of puts us in a little bit of a quandary for a few reasons. Pardon me.
I'm not going to display that message
That's
because
fine.
it's
But that's for the council.
privileged.
Sure. So, but I just want you to know that it was approved by legal. This is a direction that you had the opportunity to go. I want to make that part clear. So I'm going to go on over to,
Could we look at the drawing together now at this point, or are you explaining it?
I would like to go just in order with what you've got. And that way we don't get out of balance and or out of order. And so, I'm
And then
sorry.
ask questions later?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
So I am on the scenic corridor page. There were several things that I felt were appropriate. You see on page, I believe, 6 in your world, that is the, or on 7 is, well, I don't know if that's a 6 or 7, after the application for certificate of appropriateness for the scenic corridor. And I'm explaining this for 2 reasons. I want to be clear. I'm explaining this, one, for the commission, who may not have ever read these specific codes before, but also I'm explaining this for residents who may or may not foresee that they might, pardon me, they may be going through the same process or considering doing so in the future. So this is a lot of education. I say just kind of sit back and enjoy it for a moment to the best of your ability. But I also want to read the purpose of the scenic corridor, which was the purpose is to preserve and enhance the visual quality of the 2 principal gateways leading into the city while facilitating traffic flow and providing for the safety of motorists. Key point, pedestrians, cyclists, and landowners. In addition, the scenic corridor requires that building size, exterior details, and materials should be compatible with existing buildings, neighborhoods, or in order to sustain the city's unique qualities that have proven to be increasingly attractive to residences, businesses, and tourists. I'm not going to go over the exceptions. I do want to make certain that you are drawn to the following page, which is still that scenic corridor on letter E, sequence of approval. Turn the page. And to let it be known that, that's perfect, that we do have to approve in order, we have to approve the SUP, which is specific use permit, prior to the scenic corridor. Because if they can't have a driveway, then there's no point in going further. So that's the purpose of that, and I wanted to bring that to your awareness. Let's see, we're going to go to, there's no need for us to, provided for the commission, the warranty deed for legal description, which is required by application. I will let our owner/representative know that I did redact any dollar amounts that were paid for that property many, many years ago. This is nobody else's business, in my opinion. So. And then I'm going to, like I said, I provided all that information, including proof of payment. Also proof of public hearing notice, which, one more page. Right there, page number 16 of 25. That is stating where it was listed in the newspaper and an affidavit of publication. The following page starts with, I'm gonna go in a little bit of a back and forth order. I'm providing you all of the documents that were provided to me as this project, what's what I'm looking for, progressed. So the first two documents are what is being referred to as phase one. So ultimately, the applicant is applying for the entire project. So in that phase one, you can scroll, maybe say 2 pages. See? So this is still phase one. Let me look at that for just a second for the council. I mean, I'm sure, excuse me, commission, to have a better understanding. Where it is highlighted that says 16 feet, 1,600, that is the new structure that would be built. It was my recommendation as planning administrator that even though this project is located in mixed use, it was my advisement or advice to follow the commercial building standards. And so that is how the architect has drawn and provided information for your consideration, is based on the commercial standards.
That relates to setbacks and frontage and all of that.
Correct. All right. And then going to the next page, that is literally the survey for your awareness. You can see the one that is a little bit more outlined in the center that actually says 0 point something acres. I could look down. That is the 1839. That is the lot, the parcel we are discussing. I provided, hopefully it got in there for each of you, a little bit larger document, if you so chose to take it out of your packet. There may be a small one, but I think I included a large one. And if I didn't,
Guys, there.
it is there. Great. So this document actually includes phase one and phase two. But I want to make it aware that the bottom portion, which on this screen is the top portion.
I'll reorient it.
Thank you.
That's what's.
Reorient it for me. There we go. All right. So the part that I'm looking at on this screen that is in the top right side, that is Lockhart Street. All right. And so of concern, wish I had a pointer, but I don't, of concern of not only commission members individually, as we have reviewed this project, had to do with ingress and egress, which means entrance and exit. Wanting to make certain that because this property is near a curve that comes from Highway 142, as well as the curve on Highway 80, visibility is of great concern, as it should be. And so I wanted to call to your attention on this. Man, I wish I had a pointer, because I'm just not tall enough.
Why can't you put the cursor over where you're talking
Well,
about?
let's talk about to the ingress and egress. There we go. Up. Yes, there we go. So what I want to make certain that everyone is aware of is that that area is closest to the Catholic Church or the post office. In other words, it is furthest away from the actual intersection. So that's important. What you're seeing next to the ingress,
From the Catholic Church?
Say that again.
The Catholic Church property
Property. Okay.
is here.
There's actually a residence
That's a
right
residence.
next door,
That's a residence.
and then further over is the Catholic Church.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what I do want to call attention to, and as I had a quick brief meeting with our chair and vice chair of P and Z, it's been so fast. Was that today or yesterday? Today.
Yes, that was yesterday.
Yesterday, there we go. So as per our commercial building standards, it is required whenever you have frontage. So I want everybody to think in your mind, if you've been to the Dollar General, when you drive into the Dollar General and you get ready to leave, you notice there's a berm and there are, there's landscape planted. They happen to be purple sage. And the purpose of that, especially in the scenic corridor, and that's because of this being also in the scenic corridor, which is why the architect drew it the way he did, which was appropriately. That's to prevent lights from a business potentially shining into a residence. Okay, that would be open after hours, kind of thing. However, based on the conversations that were had between the chair and vice chair, for the fact that directly across the street from that ingress and egress, and those are trees. Every little round circle you see is a tree, so that you'll know that it's possible that you may want to approve with a condition of making that a xeriscape instead of any type of obstruction like a tree or a large purple sage that might obstruct the view. So that is something that I would point out to the commission to,
Is that because the tree is a requirement under
is under,
the commercial
Commercial.
district? They have
Yes.
to have so much
Mhm.
greenery and trees and such.
Yes. And so when we were, going through this and I spoke at length with the engineer who did these drawings, he did a very good job. I also want you to know, and you may not be able to read it, maybe on there you can, just some notes from when I was literally on the phone with them. So this is FYI. When you have a restaurant, you are required one parking space per table. The plans something, okay. So the first pink structure that you see is the actual restaurant. This is going to be a 2-story building, and the plan is to have 2 loft apartments on the 2nd story that will become short-term rental. For the fact that this is zoned currently mixed use, they do not have to come back and ask whether may I have a short-term rental. That is permitted in there. The reason that we're here is because in mixed use, a drive-through is not permitted. However, it fits in all practical purposes, as long as it fits on the space, it fits the area. So that's why we're here.
Lisa, real quick,
Yes,
on
sir.
that drawing, it shows the majority of the parking spaces going into the pink structure parallel to each other. But in the other drawing, it shows that the parking is at a diagonal.
I thank you. Thank you for your attentiveness.
Yeah.
And as I stated, this was a progression.
So we're going by the second drawing in
This is-
actuality.
This is what is being presented. I wanted you to see the progression we went through. All right. So they do have enough parking spaces for the tabletops within the site. Also, as per state code, you have to have 1.5 parking spaces for every bedroom. So these are going to be 1-bedroom loft apartments. So they have provided and this is still in phase 1, not even looking at phase 2 yet. So they have provided for the parking for the lofts as well as the actual restaurant. The second pink building that on that picture is below the actual restaurant is proposed to be an outdoor patio. So having a little ambiance opportunity to sit inside or outside. Although parking is set properly either way. I'm not really going to discuss phase 2 at this time.
Primarily because it's not, it doesn't apply, the specific use permit and the certificate of appropriateness don't necessarily
Correct.
apply to those uses. However, the structures themselves that are planned in phase 2 might have to come back for a future certificate of appropriateness.
And it may be that that can be tagged on where we do not have to pay $1,000 again. You know, that would be a recommendation of staff for commission to consider
As far as their fee, you mean?
as far as a fee. Yes, sir. So let me see if there's anything else on this.
That's something that would be considered at the time of the application being submitted, though.
Correct. And it's for literally for the commission's awareness, the next couple of pages. I'm taking this one out so I can reference back. I just a particular email correspondence between myself and the owner for your awareness, where it was determined that an SUP was the most appropriate course of action, or at least that was my opinion. And then, so also going down, thank you for your awareness, are the names and addresses of all. This is also something that I would want the public to be aware of whenever you apply for a specific use permit and or a certificate of appropriateness in the scenic corridor. It is required to have a public hearing, like we are doing, is required to send a letter to every resident that is within 200 feet of the proposed project. And so now we're looking at the actual structures.
Does that show the 2 living quarters in that structure?
In that structure, you see that it is 2-story. I will also, if we were to go back,
That might be a question, once the presentation.
Okay.
That might be a question that we ask the property owner.
Okay, then.
right, and let me just go back and find it. You go back to the code of specific use. There was one part. No, in the scenic corridor, there was one part I wanted to bring forth, and that is in, or under the purpose, which is chapter 150.026. Turning the page, you go down to F, which talks about the application requirement, what's required on it. I want to draw your attention to 5, which is highlighted on your document. Pictures, brochures, or physical examples of exterior.
Where you're at.
Okay. I
Page you
am,
on?
let's see, stay where you are. Yep, flip.
Right.
Yep, 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 5 more. Go to the code that says specific use permit.
Oh,
Going back,
Right there, right there. So whatever page, what page is actually,
okay. 8.
here's Jim Good Height. It's actually right here, 5. Number 5, it's on page 9 of your packet, where it talks about elevation drawings of the post-development activity, if applicable, pictures, brochures, or physical samples of exterior materials to be used. Those are things that I have explained to our applicant, the commission is going to want to know. And that is going to be based on, you're going to make, I would hope, that you would base your decision on if it meets the purpose of the specific use. The certificate of appropriateness. Now, again, just like I stated, that when approval time comes, you may want to make a condition for what appears to be a berm with 3 trees on it to be xeriscaped for minimal obstruction of view. And this is the time for us to look at the actual elevation pictures. Mr. Yamos, how many other restaurants has How many other restaurants do you guys have?
We have one in San Marcos.
One in San Marcos, and it is a full structure, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And these pictures are similar to it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that was where we came to was send me the elevations of what you've done before. We will give the commission the opportunity to weigh in and say, and I'll tell you exactly what I told the chair and the vice chair. You know, when it comes to the purpose, does it look like anything around it? It's a question you have to answer. Is there any corrugated tin, which is everywhere in Martindale? There does appear, your pictures may not be as, actually, that picture's better than what printed out. Does appear to be some brick. I still go back to the Dollar General as a very good example when the commission is trying to make a decision as to what the exterior of a new build in the scenic corridor would look like. The Dollar General did it to a T. They were actually the first new build who built after the scenic corridor was created. And so if you were to stand in front of that building, you will notice, you may not have noticed before, because they've got lots of ice compartments and sale items that kind of hide it. But from about 4 feet down on that building is brick. On the upside, it is stucco, I think. It has a pitched roof. And on that pitch, the front facade is corrugated tin. It also has the lighting that is like from the 50s, only on the front facade. It was not required by the commission at that time for it to be all the way around. It was the front that they were concerned about. So I say all of that so that the commission can look at these pictures. Now it is time for you to ask. Actually, no, it's not. Excuse me, I misspoke. To look at these pictures, and now it is time for the public hearing to begin. And
Do you
for,
have any recommendations to
yes, the record,
regarding, you're kind of,
did
I
I?
think you're getting to a point, but I'm not sure if we got there. So the purpose of discussing the architectural facade features as it relates to this project, is that an issue that the commission should consider making their decision?
It is my recommendation that in some kind of way, that when it is, that quite frankly, there need this is my recommendation, that there be more elements to this structure that are conducive to the elements of the majority of building structures in Martindale, which all you have to do is go back and read the purpose of the scenic corridor. And that's your basis.
Yeah, so on the pages that were provided, and we referenced it before, it's page 8 of 25, underneath the purpose, it discusses exterior architectural features, arrangements and size, style, design, arrangement, size, general components of the surfaces, colors, textures, windows, yada, yada, yada. Other exterior architectural features similar to other buildings and structures in the community, including gable roof styles, frame and colonial revival structures. And I think that's what we're talking about with, some of the tin, little design elements that could possibly be added to, so it more integrates with our scenic corridor.
Correct. And because we've had multiple mishaps with this particular project, and going back to the architect and having them draw up additional true elevations, not pictures, but true elevations, was at this moment, because of some mishaps on our part, was cost prohibitive. So I said, send me the pictures and I will make certain that everyone understands what you're looking at. In theory, this fits. You know, it fits according to the setbacks. It fits according to the parking. It fits according to the setbacks and the parking. Oh, one other thing I wanted to draw your attention, if you still are looking at the actual map, it is, and some may not be aware, it is by state statute that every drive-through have a pass-through lane to the right of it or the left of it, whichever way it's built. So, Jared, if you would mind running your cursor like you were entering the property, so that's going to be here. So that's the drive-through, and then you can see the pass-through lane is on the outer portion. I just want to make certain that that is correct. Or if they say, I got to get out of this line, it doesn't let anybody get stuck, you know, and not be able to, with going on.
So it's safe to say that the site design complies with all applicable regulations for the local regulations, state regulations, and everything else.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And so I do believe, according to the agenda, it's at this point that you would open or allow the public to speak and or ask questions specifically about this project. That is what this public hearing was for.
Okay, let's start the public hearing at
I'm just going to leave this right now.
7:09.
So if anybody has any, Mr. Jimenez, if you would like to make any statements or just want to hang back and listen, it's up to you.
It's not Mr. Jimenez.
I misspoke.
It's
Thank you.
Mr. Lamas.
Yeah, thank you. I misspoke. I apologize.
I think you said it in, you didn't miss anything.
Do you feel like I did you justice?
Yes.
Okay.
And did you have your question?
Yeah, well, for one, I've always enjoyed going there and seeing the pecan trees in the front. There's one on the right side behind the telephone pole. There's also one behind your sign. And I subsequently went over there and measured those. One of them has a circumference of 52 inches. The other one is 63 inches. But you have what I would call a heritage pecan tree on the property line on the left. The circumference of that tree is 117 inches. It is a huge pecan tree.
Are those arborist inches or just
Tape measure inches.
tape measure inches?
I tape measured the circumference of that largest tree there. And if you are speaking of incorporating in phase two, a sit outside, enjoy in the back,
That's
are
actually part of
you
phase
hoping
one.
to, I would hope and have it as a condition that you would retain that pecan tree.
Oh, yeah, that's a big, nice tree. So now we're definitely trying to save that. We haven't thought about anything else.
What about the two in the front? I think you would have to cut those out because one of them looks like it would be right where the driveway will be coming out.
I think I mentioned it in right before the driveway fixed right there. There is one, I think one tree or one pole that is not being used anymore. That would have to be taken out. But that other tree that I told behind the sign could be.
Do you mind coming up for the microphone so people on Zoom would be able to hear you? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And I have a
Just
question for you next.
That other tree behind the sign, it might be on that part where there's trees and grass, if you go.
Because I
haven't-
noticed you have incorporated a lot of new trees where, say, those circles are. You've got 3 on the bottom end of the picture and then 2 in the front and then 3, 4, 5 trees
It might fit in one, and it might be in one of those spots right there.
where you're keeping the
Yeah.
one tree.
And the other tree
think we could probably keep it also if it's not in the way of the driveway.
And then on one of the drawings of the parking, as I mentioned, it showed that the majority of the parking spaces are at a diagonal. And this one, it shows that they're parallel.
So what happened was we had it, I think, at 40 feet before, and we shrunk it a little bit at maybe 35, so it could be just like this one. So it'll be easier for it to back up and leave.
The building being shrunk, the footprint of the building you're talking about.
It got the width
Senior.
skinnier, yeah.
But you only are required to have one handicap space?
There's two right there.
Oh, and so the crosshatch in the middle and you've got a handicap space on either side. Does it concern you though, as you're coming out of the drive-through, that you have to cross through about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 parking spaces? Where cars will be backing out, and so the car as it's exiting, just have to be extra careful because then you're driving across all those parking spaces. It just mostly concerns me on Lockhart Street there because that happens to be one of the busiest, believe it or not, the busiest intersections we have in the city. And I do appreciate the fact that you do have the driveway farther away from the intersection or as the right turn lane progresses to get onto 80. But I do find at times that the traffic is backed up at the light there. So I am concerned about the driveway and the traffic but with the two living spaces, are those going to be owner occupied or rentals?
Maybe rentals, short-term rentals, like she said.
Short-term
fine.
Yeah.
rentals?
Mhm.
And you find no complication or problem to having those above a restaurant that'll be open till what, 10 at night or?
Um,
What are your hours in San Marcos?
So open until 10 or
until 9 in San Marcos.
9? Okay,
Just to follow up, Mr. Clinton,
that's all I
And
have.
that's not something that we would make a decision on.
But
That's just
just-
curiosity.
just to follow Mr. Clinton, that's my, and I've expressed this to
Mhm.
Lisa. My main concern is the ingress and egress into that thing. And that, like Mr. Clinton said, that's a very busy, we got traffic coming from 142, we got traffic going to 80. For example, those trees, we might do zero scape or something, but it would be nice if y'all could at one time maybe stake out your corner, say that where those parking lot is going to be, to get a more of a visual, because that's going to be really tight to get in and out of there.
Well, and that this was done, this site map was done via the survey.
Okay.
So it's been legitimately measured and.
I
and
understand, but it would be nice to have a visual, like a visual stake or something, because like I said, that's my main concern is that traffic flow. Like I said, we got to make sure, my main concern, we got to make sure that driver going out especially has enough of enough to see 142 across from 80 and also people getting on Highway 80.
Right.
So that's my major concern of the project is just that tight little spot that we got to have visibility.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question for you, Mr. Lomas.
Yes.
So I would like to know, in the 19 years at your business location here in Martindale, Texas, how many accidents have you had from patrons leaving or coming out of your business?
I don't think I have seen one, to be honest, not right there while I'm working.
Yeah, so.
It's
and
always
that's
With no
what-
parking spaces designated.
Yeah, there's never been an accident or,
Anything that's happened onto your property because of like
oh yeah.
parking or backing out or any accidents that have happened there in the 19 years?
I never,
Like I said, I'm all.
maybe on 80, but
Yes.
I'm all for, I'm not gonna say, I'm not against, that's just my main concern.
I
about that.
understand.
I mean, that's just so that driver, that's a good right there visual.
Yeah, in the far upper
Just
left-hand
to see,
corner.
yeah, to see that the intersection is going, I think going in is not gonna be a problem, it's going out, what I see. Just make sure that driver has both a good view of right and left. So,
And I cannot help thinking about,
So they will have to comply with the site triangle. So part of all of our zoning design criteria requires maintaining a clearance out of driveways and other such on a site triangle. So as long as they have demonstrated thus far their ability to comply with our site design criteria. And as we proceed, that'll be another requirement that they'll have to comply with, and that should protect those concerns.
And like I say, get back to the trees is a great thing, but
Mhm.
we want to make sure we have good visibility. Okay.
And it could be, just my thought is, when it comes time to, have your architect do more, actually see about incorporating the trees that Commission Member
Oh, yeah.
Clinton, especially since you may be asked to take out the trees that are in the berm area, and so you're saving there.
Okay,
It may
sure.
be, you see, it may be that, just a thought.
I would like to ask you a question about the trees. So with this being like a council member or a commissioner, planning and zoning commissioner stating about the trees, but yet we don't have anything in our ordinance, but it could be.
We do have some, we do not have an ordinance regarding the removal of quote unquote heritage trees. We don't have an ordinance relating to that. What we do have is an ordinance related to vegetation as a boundary for commercial uses.
But as long as we're following those guidelines.
Right, so in this case, I don't want to speak for the commission member. But I understood it, correct me if I'm wrong, that it would be a request that to be considered amongst the rest of the commission of putting that as a condition of the certificate of appropriateness, not so much the specific use permit, but as a certificate of appropriateness. So I think in that case, it'd be for the rest of the commission to weigh in on and decide on whether that would apply or not.
And I have a question about parking too, because I know you have several parking spaces there, but what has happened recently is that at the Stack and Pack, he put barricades up at the triangle in the back. And what used to happen is that 18-wheelers and all these big trucks that normally just drive through, they want to come by and pick something up quick. So what they do is they park along Lockhart Street, but now they're forced to park outside of the triangle that's behind the Sack and Pack. And so you have multiple, at occasions, multiple large vehicles parking along the street.
Mhm.
And then that means that there's less visibility because of that. It means there's more confusion because there's trucks coming in and out. And I know that the parking spaces that you have shown in the drawing does not accommodate larger vehicles, but I just have times been there and have seen a lot of other large truck congestion. So that concerns me. And then also the drainage there. I've seen it at times where the water all comes from 80 and comes from the north and comes straight down and it floods there. Has your engineer done an elevation study about the flooding and the drainage and all that? That's a very poorly draining site.
It is
You
in-
have the field behind you.
It is in the 500-year flood.
Yeah, it just never flooded whenever I maybe a little small spot next to the, which would be on the left, maybe super small, and that's about it. But even when we had that big flood, we never had a real big flood in this property.
And I would just like to add that, I share your concern, but I think as business owners, it's not going to be up to them to control the parking of 18-wheelers that want to go to their establishment, but perhaps as a city, we could put no large vehicle parking, and that's something that we could do if it's of a concern, that as a city, we're able to, put no parking signs there.
I have a comment.
Yes.
We were talking about that little green space right now in the front
Mhm.
there at the curb, which is kind of the place where everybody kind of drives through right now.
Oh, yeah.
And, in fact, I was one that kind of suggested a zero skate there.
Mhm.
As long as we have a big curb
Built up.
that's built up so nobody ends up driving through thinking that's
Oh,
way
yeah,
it's
of course.
supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you know how high the curb is there? Have you had gotten into
It's
that
right.
detail?
It's going to be according to the building standards,
Yeah.
that what will be required.
You know, I don't know what kind of, you know, landscaping you were thinking about doing and any preferences that you would like.
Just want it to look
There-
good. I just want it to look nice so,
Right.
for the
right.
city. So,
Following the
Just
guidelines.
so it's- so you can-
so people
just
won't
so as
go
long
through
as
it. Yeah,
follows
of course.
the guidelines, so it's not in the way
Mhm.
of snow obstructing any kind of use
Exactly.
traffic.
And actually,
So
there's
that's kind of my concern. Also, I have a concern making sure, it looks like you have plenty of parking.
Mhm.
But you have that patio. I'm sure there's probably gonna be tables in there, but I mean, do you still, even if you put 3 more tables in there, it looks like you're putting plenty of parking.
There should be plenty of parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I was just,
I still
Worry
would
about
probably
that.
have some more room in the back if I wanted to add some more parking spots.
Uh-huh.
But that,
oh,
but right now there's like maybe
That's on phase
18 or
2.
20. Yeah.
okay. All right. I'm not too worried about that. I'm just kind of concerned that you might want to, have you heard from has anybody heard from your neighbors or anything with such letters came out?
Adrian, did you receive any emails by noon today in response, negative or positive?
I did
To
not
this
get any
project?
response about
Okay,
Okay,
public hearing.
so we're good on that end too.
okay.
I just have one last comment about Lockhart Street, is that we're planning to pave that street within a short time.
Hopefully this fall.
And so how will the curbs and the infrastructure that he needs to put in on his property, how will that interface or interfere with the money that we're spending on Lockhart Street? And that if we install or finish off Lockhart Street in a certain way as to where it doesn't accommodate what he wants to do, then we'll have to change what has been created
Well,
upon the
we're
street
basically,
name.
we're basically just gonna do an overlay on the existing.
So
So it's not gonna change.
And then what he would do would be on his property
Yeah,
only,
right.
so it wouldn't
Right
be,
up to where.
It'll be the same road pattern we have now.
Okay.
You know, maybe a little wider because the edges have blown out, but it's pretty much the same path. We're gonna follow the same existing road bed.
Okay.
Questions?
Any comments from the public or?
I have a question about how far away this house 410 is to that property line.
Yes, sir. Can you identify yourself, please?
Matthew McGovern,
All right.
the house 410, which is next door to it, how
Mhm.
close to to that house are you actually, according to the photo I've seen, it's currently close, the property line is gonna be really close to the back of their house.
It does. It is. But however, it does meet setbacks and it does meet building standards.
Yeah, so on this case, the house is the non-conforming lot, not the property that is being discussed here. So non-conforming uses can continue in perpetuity until they cross certain thresholds. You know, if they start doing a, 50% or more remodel or something like that, then they would have to comply with the setbacks. But for this project, it's outside of the scope of control and outside the discussion for
So
approval.
that existing house did not have proper setbacks.
It does not currently today, but I don't know what happened in the past and how that came to be.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
that has
much an
nothing to do
abandoned
with the
house
two
at
things we're
this point.
voting on.
No one lives in that house.
So for all practical purposes, if I may speak on behalf of Javier, is that the biggest concern is that they, as a family and owners of this restaurant, need to be given permission to have a drive-through. And by being given permission to have a drive-through will enable them to move forward with all of the other requirements that are being required.
Were there any other comments, questions, or anybody else? All right. I think I could wrap up our hearing. I would say for the commission members, we received a number of return to sender notices on the mailing that we sent out as part of the requirement for public notice. On further review, it appears that some of that return to sender was based off a mistake that the city made with a couple of those individuals. So it impacted almost half of the notices that we sent out, roughly half. I had an opportunity to speak with our attorney about that issue earlier this afternoon. His advice, without being able to review the documents themselves, was to not make any decisions this evening and have the city go back and ensure that we comply with those notice requirements, resend those notices, and then we can make the decision after a subsequent meeting. So basically what happened is in the mail merge form letter that was sent, the property address, street address, and the property owner's address, which a lot of times are different if they live out of town or don't live at the property that they own, got jumbled and had it all returned, had a number of letters returned.
So,
I have a question
real
about
quick, so if it's been rectified, yeah, the letter's been submitted, and they.
No, on occasion we receive a return to sender from a property owner on occasion. You know, they might be deceased, they might have their mailing address or contact information hasn't been kept up with the county appraisal district is what we use as, you know, matter of fact, as that's your contact. In those cases, we proceed. In this case, where we did not provide the notice per the address on file with the CAT office, which makes this
If I may. First of all, I'd like to apologize. I did not even introduce myself. I just jumped right in. So for anyone who is unaware, I am Lisa Shell Allen and am now the Planning Administrator and Economic Development Coordinator, which is why I'm sitting here and not there anymore. One thing that I did want to bring to your attention as I was going through files today, because we've had this project on a public hearing, this is the third time. And when I was going through my files, I did find 2 letters that were returned from, I'd have to go back and double check whether it was the fire station or the other project that we did go through the last time. So I'm curious, I do not know, and maybe Kent would be able to better guide or help me find out, what is the percentage? You know, is there a percentage of, if people do not get, I mean, I know we are required to submit.
so
Those letters were sent out properly twice before for this project.
You've already,
But did those letters state that today was the public hearing? That's the issue. Because the purpose of those letters is to inform them of the public hearing.
And so looking at any of the previous, I'm just curious, and so looking at any of the previous emails of your predecessor, were there any comments for or against sent in on this project? Just for the record.
and then because it has been so long, and then the issue with the paper, and then the 3 times putting it off, could we still take a vote on it with the condition that the letters are sent back out?
Does it have
That,
to be 10 days?
11 days.
Or,
so
so it couldn't be next Tuesday, it would have to be the
if,
following week.
So we'd have to have another public hearing.
to answer that question, we'd probably want to call our attorney, go into an executive session and consult with him.
I think we need to do it right and just do it in 2 weeks.
If we state, okay, so at this point, we haven't resubmitted the correct address or their proper mailing address.
No,
So it's the best case scenario, what time period are we talking about?
probably the end of this month. Probably the 31st or thereabouts, because we'll want to also make sure that it hits the paper. That way we're doing both notice requirements at the same time as envisioned in our ordinance. So, and it'd be difficult to get in the paper on the 12th, so we're looking at the 19th plus 10, puts us basically May 31st if we want to keep it on a Tuesday.
So, hang on. So for this gentleman's, for his best, for what's to do the fair thing for him, what is the fastest way to take care of this problem? If we go in executive session, that's gonna take time. What's the most efficient, quickest
2
way
weeks.
to get through this problem?
The attorney.
On the advice of our attorney is to follow the ordinance requirements. To follow the ordinance requirements means 10 days post 10, you hold the public hearing after the 10th day. So basically on the 11th day, after the paper goes out. Paper for us goes out on Thursdays. We can look at using, I know the city has adopted prior ordinance that we can use a San Marcos record instead of just a Lockhart paper to make a notice.
Which we
We-
did this last time.
We may be able to, 'cause they publish more frequently, may be able to expedite that notice by a couple of days. I haven't committed to memory what their lead time is to get the notice out. Conservatively, if we use the Lockhart paper as an example, which we know that process more thoroughly, which requires 3 or 4 days in advance of the paper being posted, and you have to put the ad request in. That would have us putting the ad request on the 16th, which is next Monday, the notice going out on the 19th, next Thursday, and the 10th day plus one from that date would be either I think the 31st.
A day
That would be a Tuesday, May 31st. Conservatively, that's the fastest we can do it. There's a chance if we can get the papers out, get the newspaper announcement out sooner, that we can do it sooner than the 31st, but I can't speak to that today, but we can.
So-
I'm okay with it.
So the 31st at the earliest, at the latest, first week of June.
No, 31st at the latest.
The latest.
We could, at the very latest, if we're able to say, get in the San Marcos record this weekend, then we could probably have something teed up for the 24th. It kind of depends on, so probably 24th, 31st, there's probably 2 days.
Yes.
So yeah, I submitted a application maybe 5 months ago or maybe even 6 already. One time, I guess the newspaper messed up. Second time,
This is our problem.
and then this time I told you guys with plenty of time. And all I'm waiting for is a drive-through answer. Everything else, since it's in mixed use, I can basically do without this. Since it's mixed use, I can do anything I want right now,
Well,
except for the drive-through.
we can, part of the discussion.
All I want is
But
drive-through.
what we might do is, if each individual council member wants to make a statement of their support, that might give you enough to have some confidence of proceeding. It'll still be technically at risk, because the application won't have to be approved yet. But if each council member has made a statement of support, the likelihood that it'll be approved is pretty good. If it's a matter of days and weeks for you, I think that's probably the quickest way to help.
Like I've told Lisa, I'm just waiting for the approval for the drive-through since I can do anything else in this, a sketch. I can do anything else I want, except for the drive-through. And as soon as I get the answer, I can get architects to do the real,
Did we need the letters to go out for the specific use permit?
Yes.
Okay,
I think like pledging our support, that's just like, let's just wait until our next meeting. I mean, I'm sorry that it's, like on behalf of the city that, you've answered everything, you've jumped through hoops, getting your application, going to the engineer, having your stuff turned in, and it's totally not your fault. You've been doing everything that you should be doing. So like on behalf of the city, I totally apologize that, I know each time you're taking off of work, I know you have a business in San Marcos. It's costing you money every time that you're here. It's costing you money with your contractors. So we understand that there's a significant amount of cost involved. And each day that it's delayed, then it's more.
Okay, I do like what Jared said about having each council member talk about this and their concerns and support or their main concerns. You think that's a viable suggestion? I think it's a
We
viable.
talked about our concerns during the meeting.
It's not going to be a, no action can be.
Yeah, no action, but we can at least tell the individual how we're feeling.
Yeah, sure.
This is specific to the drive-through.
This is the drive-through, so. Mr. Clinton, what's your,
Based on what I see, I so far I am approving the driveway.
okay?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm the same way, except like I said before, Pete, myself, I had concerns about the ingress and egress. If you can address that problem, and explain it, really, maybe get with your engineer and, maybe a drawing or something just to put me at ease about the ingress and egress. I'm for it too.
Of course.
That's my major issue.
Okay.
But see, like whenever you say to go to the engineer and do a drawing, each time you go to the engineer and do a drawing.
I don't expect a detailed drawing. I just said, have a little better detailed drawing showing for I'm more comfortable with it to show the actual, it could be a handwritten drawing. I don't expect it to be to a blue, you know what I'm saying? Just something, a sketch of some sort, showing your markers.
What happened is he already did that sketch, so if I want to add more pictures, more drawings, he's already asking for at least $5,000.
Oh, no, we don't want to do that. We don't do
So-
that. We don't do
That's why
that.
he's stuck.
That's all I need is the approval for the
Drive-through, so
drive-through,
he can
and
move
then
forward.
once that happens, he's ready to go.
Well, I'm
and
not against it. I'm not against it. I'm just saying. Just if we can,
Yeah.
for example, just me talking, just put some stakes out. Okay, survey stake, put some stakes out, take a picture. Here it is. You can do that. Take a picture. Here's the stake. This is gonna be the edge of my driveway. That way, and then take a picture of that showing 142.
Mhm.
Maybe put a car or whatever, just give an example. This is gonna be our driveway. Here's the here's the marker, here's the setback. We get a picture and we can actually get a visual. That's all. You don't have to have an engineer for that. You do that for me?
Yeah.
But how does that relate to what's being considered?
Well, he asked.
Well,
That's.
I mean, he asked.
I'm a stamp, a certificate of
Has
appropriateness.
to do with the driveway.
Well, it's a drive-through. This is the drive-through. This relates to the drive-through. I'm not asking
It
for.
would it be above and beyond the site triangle requirements of our zoning ordinance already? Is that
Well-
what you're asking for?
Well, no, I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying this is a special case because of that location. I'm not asking for a drawing from the engineer. I'm just asking for a visual, for us to see a visual.
I do understand what you're asking, but the driveway will be there no matter what if I don't have a drive-through. So that driveway would be there if there's a restaurant getting built.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the driveway, I know what you mean, and of course, there's gonna be visibility, but the drive-through doesn't have anything to
Actually
do
gives more
with,
flow.
Then it doesn't-
since it's a mixed use, so I can do a restaurant right now,
Mhm.
and the driveway will be there no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying that, I mean, he's talking about our order, but that is a special, the most congested
Yeah.
spot in the
Yeah,
city.
that's the best.
It's
as
a
well.
very thing, I mean, I'm all for them. I have no problem with your drive-through. I'm just asking for a.
Mike, would it be worthwhile to possibly consider that as part of an upcoming workshop, how we regulate parking? And I know we have on the agenda, future agenda items, is a workshop, we relook at the design criteria of site triangles in the commercial space. Maybe that might be a more appropriate avenue to address the concern. Because right now, the criteria of his driveway isn't up for approval or disapproval or.
But we were saying how we felt about about the.
Yeah, but that's not going to change his
Well,
entrance.
I know, I understand that, but this is for me personally. I would like to see, stay, or what if I could actually see it? I'm for it, I'm not, I'm for it, but I would just like the drawing.
But maybe what we can do is,
You go back to the
maybe we
sketch.
can do a one-on-one and, maybe visit with the property owner on his property.
About 30 feet.
There you go.
And we'll kind of,
There you go.
we'll
That's
get
fair
a
enough.
sense of things and we'll take a tape measure with us and we'll get
Fair
it.
enough, that's good enough, that's good enough.
Yeah, but I see what Mike's saying is that there is a
It's
difference
taking too
between a driveway in a restaurant and just a freestanding restaurant. If you have a driveway, a drive-through of a restaurant, you'll subsequently might have twice as much traffic. Because when you come to the restaurant, you park, you sit. If you have a drive-through,
Yes,
you
that's-
drive through and you have more traffic. You not only have the traffic from the people that are eating in the restaurant, you have the traffic from the people that are driving through the drive-through.
May I do a point of topic, just for time's sake, because it is kind of dragging on like the discussion. We're gonna have the discussion again. I would like to go ahead and like just set the date for the next meeting, do what we have to do, and follow up with the discussion when there's actually gonna be action made.
Good enough.
Yes.
Right.
Can we call an end to
Yeah, we'll
the,
call the end of this public hearing, and it's at 7:44. Anybody, I'll make a motion.
At this point.
I make a motion to end the
closing the-
public hearing at 7:44.
I second.
We might need a motion to close the planning and zoning commission and go into a city.
I make a motion to close the planning and zoning commission at 7:44.
I second.
Because you're skipping action.
Yeah.
You're skipping action.
Has to ask
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
okay.
the agenda's yours.
Okay, so it is May 10th, 2022, and it is 7:45. I now open the regular city council meeting. The first thing on the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is.
Mary Beth Harper?
I'm bringing y'all good news from the Martindale Community Library. Okay, so far we've had several very successful events, and we're planning even more for the summer. First of all, Kite Day was April 9th. We had a lot more people this year than we had last year. And a big hit was the rocket launchers. And we had both kids and adults trying to launch the highest rocket. Even some of the city council members launched rockets. I'm not going to name names. Also, I want to thank the council members who did attend and can attest how much fun it was and how successful we were. Okay, second item is our AARP tax aid that we've done. This has been over several years. The library hosted the AARP tax aid. Okay, volunteers prepared and filed over 200 tax returns for our local citizens and some from Lockhart. This is free. It's a free service. And 63% of these taxpayers were over age 65. And a total of $273,223 in refunds are brought back to the community, $273,000 back to Martindale. And this is all done only on one day of the week, starting in February and then running through April. Again, one day a week and free. Third item is the pre-K story time. This is another successful event. This occurs 11 to 12 on Thursday mornings. Several books are read to the children, and they'll have an arts and crafts activity based on the books that they've read. Okay, the fourth item is our summer reading program. Starts June the 4th and runs until the first week of August. And there'll be prizes for the top readers in 4 different age groups, pre-K to adult. And I would love to see some of the adults in here, council members, be some of the prize winners on the adult hours. And it's not adult books, it's adult age. Clarifying that for some of y'all.
Thank you for
And
clarifying.
both the pre-K story time and summer reading are partially funded with the Humanities Texas grant. Next item, we have other grants coming to fruition. One of those is a TSLAC, that's Texas State Library, CAP grant for libraries beyond buildings. And this will facilitate an outdoor movie series, and we're partnering with the cafe during the summer to show outdoor movies. The first one was on May the 4th, and we had a Star Wars movie. Again, that's Star Wars Day, May 4th. I don't have to explain it. Okay, St. David's Foundation is also providing support for some of these programs. The outdoor movies is funded with the CAP grant, Community Advancement Package. We had Humanities Texas and also St. David's Foundation. Okay, these grants are providing support for a lot of our programs. And without these grants, the library cannot afford to provide the library services to the Martindale community. And our library volunteers have been the heart of facilitating all of these programs. And we hope that the council will thank the library volunteers for making the community library, also the community, a success.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. Okay, now we're going to move into our agenda. And the first thing is the elections, statement of officer for council members and oath of office. And our first oath of office will be council member place 1.
Okay.
Will be Sonia Villalobos, and administering the oath is Judge Molina.
Just before we begin the formal process, this election, City of Martindale did not have a unopposed, they had no opposing candidates. And so everybody who ran for the position of councilman place 1 being Sonia, 3 being Nick Styler, and 4 being Mike McLeod, are being nominated today as a new term for 2 years.
Swearing in.
Or swearing in as council members for 2 years. So congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
Applaud.
Thank you.
And see, thank you for being part of democracy. And so represent this here, Sonia, let's seal it, you in office.
Okay.
So this is for you, and behind it is the statement of oath that Judge Barbara Molina will now.
So I would like to thank you for staying so long. I know you had a busy day at court. You're probably really need to get home. So thank you for staying. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here. All right, at this time, then I will ask Ms. Sonia Gonzalez Villalobos, please raise your right hand. All right, repeat after me.
I,
Sonia Gonzalez Villalobos,
Sonia Gonzalez Villalobos,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City Council Member,
of City Council Member,
Place 1, City of
Place-
Martindale,
Place 1, City of Martindale,
Caldwell County,
Caldwell County, Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of this state, and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Here we go.
I think I could send, do you need a second?
Oh, we need Judge Fusco.
Let me just take your picture.
Okay.
with you guys.
Okay. You get the judge. We need the judge.
This is the big,
Mhm.
yes, these 3.
Thank you, Judge.
That's a correct.
Okay, so the next oath of office will be place 2.
There's a addendum.
Oh, I'm sorry. 3. And then 4. Will be place 3. And that is Nick. I was looking around the table. I was going, who am I missing? Nick Styler, and our judge, Anthony Fusco, will swear you in.
There you go.
All right. No, sorry. Oh. Sorry. Okay. All right, Mr. Stein.
Nicholas Styler, yep. It looks like Stiller, but it's Styler.
No, that's how it's spelled
Yes,
correctly.
sir.
Okay. All right, go on and raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Styler,
Nicholas Styler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of City Council Member,
of the office of City Council Member,
Place 3, City of Martindale,
Place 3, City of Martindale,
Caldwell County
Caldwell County
of the State of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution of laws of the United States
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
All right. Congratulations.
So you get to sit at the table.
Welcome to the club.
Now, that's on place 4, Mike McLeod.
Yes, and our next one will be place 4, Mike McLeod.
All right. Right here. I state your name,
I, Mike McLeod,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
I'll faithfully execute the duties
of the office of City Council Member,
of the office of City Council Member,
Place 4, City of Martindale, Caldwell County,
Place 4, City of Martindale, Caldwell County,
of the State of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
with the one of the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve and protect and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the constitutional laws of the United States.
and of this state, so help me God.
This state will help you God.
All right.
Thank you.
And now before Judge Fusco leaves,
You have his agenda.
with council's approval, I'd like to go to the very end of the agenda to number 444, I guess it is, under new business. Approval of and confirmation of our interim city clerk, Adrian Flores, as the City of Martindale's municipal secretary and clerk. So I'd like to move to that. Is it all right with council that we do that? So that we don't make our judge stay the whole night.
So read it again, what it is.
So it is a appointment and confirmation of our interim city clerk, Adrian Flores, to be our permanent city clerk. We have been extremely happy with his performance in his job duties. And he is just really doing a good job. And the city administrator and I would like to have him appointed as the permanent city clerk.
Do we need to make a motion to
Yes,
approve?
we do.
Okay, I make the motion that we approve the appointment of Adrian Flores as the permanent city clerk for the city of Martindale.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Sam, how do you vote?
Aye, yes.
Sonia
Yes.
and Nick,
Yes.
Jan made the
Yes.
motion and Mike made the motion, so the motion carries.
I, Adrian Flores,
I, Adrian Flores,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Municipal Secretary of the City of Martindale,
of the office of Municipal Secretary for the City of Martindale,
Caldwell County of the State of Texas,
Caldwell County, State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve and protect and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
And Judge, we had you on the schedule for a report,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
we didn't get one. So did you want to move that to next week? Or?
Yes, I'm fixing to drive to Dallas. I've been in court the last 2 days all day, and now I've got to be in court in Dallas in the morning. And I apologize to Adrian for not having, but yeah, can do it, move it to the next time?
Yeah, next Tuesday.
That would be great. Next Tuesday?
Yes, we have a meeting next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Y'all
you.
have a good evening.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to move that item. So we're going to move into the reports. I wanted to thank everybody who helped with the citywide cleanup. It was phenomenal. It was so successful. We had a lot of people come out. We had 8 dumpsters that were 40-yard dumpsters. And we just filled them all. And TDS come right away and picked them up and took them away. So we were really happy about that. They didn't make us wait around a long time. We had Sean McDonald come with his backhoe. It was immensely helpful. And so if anybody sees Sean around, just be sure to thank him for helping us with that. He could tap stuff down so we could get more in there. And Adrian came out on his own free time to help keep us organized as people were driving through and putting their stuff. And all the council members came out. Well, Sonia wasn't able to, but Jan and Mike and Sam. And we were just real busy, just helping the people.
And I suggest that we hire Sean every
Time. Yeah, it was really successful. So I was very happy about that. So in the packets, I did put a copy of the permit form. We had a meeting on the 25th of April talking about the special use permit. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about this permit. So I want to make sure that all council members had a copy of it. This permit is, and it says it's after.
It's 1 of 7. So the first page is going to be behind the state of Texas.
Yes.
And then
it
it's
goes
7 pages.
The blue font.
6 of 28.
Okay.
So the first page, yeah, looks like that. It's back to back. So the first 2 pages kind of explain about the permit. And some of the questions that came up was, well, do you have to have this for funerals or birthday parties or whatever? And of course you don't. This permit is for like festivals downtown, anything where there's going to be large groups that are gathering like the market days or like the 4th of July parade and celebration and stuff like that. The first 2 pages are a checklist to help the organizer get organized, or committees or whoever's putting on an event. this is for health and safety reasons that the city does this. The third page is where the actual permit starts and talks about, who's the organizer, what is the activity all about, what are you doing? Are you going to need street closures and stuff? It then goes into releasing the city of liability. And then it does ask for us to be a rider on the insurance that someone would get. So it talks about the insurance. The last page is a vendor agreement. And these are all Word documents. This is a Word document that I know it says between 6 and 9. It can be adjusted to be used for whatever event that someone is doing. Like at the Catholic Church, they would change up the times and stuff. But it's to make sure that people have food handlers permits or the TABC permits, any kind of vending permits that are required. I did reference a couple of ordinances, 7108, temporary closing of streets. It talks about how the chief of police needs to be informed. In fact, in this permit application, the chief of police does have to sign off if the streets have to be closed. So in 71, this one I didn't put in. This is just an email that I had emailed a number of people. 7108, temporary closing of streets for events. The chief of police or his or her designee is hereby authorized to close any public street or portion thereof to vehicular traffic and or parking for any special event, which includes the use of the area being closed. A person or entity requesting that a street or portion thereof shall make a written application for the closure to the city secretary no less than 35 days. Well, we're a small city, we put these in there to try and get people to think ahead. Sometimes we do have to go with less days, but we need to give everybody enough time to be able to do their jobs. And I'm giving this to you also that if the council ever wants to visit this, rewrite it or do anything with it or change it in any way to make it better, that we can visit that in a workshop and do that. I also referenced 9104, application for special events which involve loud and potentially disruptive noise. So
That's in a separate handout.
yeah, this
Yes.
was in an email that I had, but those were the numbers of ordinances that I was referencing. So these are not to close down any events. This is to help make them safer for everyone involved. So I just wanted to talk about that. And then upcoming events, Katie is working with all the downtown merchants. Katie is, I'm afraid to pronounce her last name, Grandemir or something like that, from the River Cafe. And she's organizing everyone around here to take a different committee. She will be coming next week. We're going to approach the council to ask for funds from the hotel motel tax, since it will be a 3-day event. The parade will be on Sunday or on Monday, the actual July 4th holiday. On Saturday, she's planning a carnival-like atmosphere. I volunteered to be dunked if Carlton would. So we'll see if he accepts the challenge. Anyway, she's planning a number of things and she'll tell us about that next week. And then I forget what she said she was doing on Sunday, but it'll be fun, a market. So that's all I have to report on. And if anybody wants to talk to me about this permit, please feel free to call me. And so that with that, we'll go into the administrator's report.
So we can't discuss the permits right now?
No, I don't. We had a whole meeting, so I think we've got a lot to do. We probably need to do that at another time.
All right.
Yeah, I need to start.
So I wanted to briefly go to our city homepage. One of the first things I want to give you an update on is that we're continuing to make updates to our city webpage. Councilmember Bunker has been helping us with that, and our newly minted tonight full-time city clerk has been making a lot of progress on minutes and other things. One of the prior city council actions were to convert our videos of city council meetings and make them available publicly, which in a lot of ways reduces the burden of getting minutes prepared and also makes it more accessible to people. So I wanted to share that on our city homepage on the left-hand column of the different helpful links that we have, you can visit the City of Martindale YouTube channel to view city council recordings. And they'll take you to a full list of all the city council meetings that we have recorded for.
He's been
probably,
busy.
How far to go back?
To December, August 2020,
2020 is all of them.
maybe July 2020. So there might be one or two as we were initially starting the Zoom process where we had some technical difficulties and didn't get recording on Zoom. But going back for probably a year and a half, we have these. And so we're still making updates to the different meetings, but if you were to click on one of those videos, you're able to click on show more under the agenda where it has, descriptions. You can show more, you can click on a link, which will take you to the document agenda for the meeting, see what was discussed. You can also review the written minutes for that meeting that codifies those decisions that were made. And then further, if you're particularly interested in a certain agenda topic, say whatever this was, calling the general election, you could go to that timestamp associated with that discussion item. It'll fast forward you right to there on the YouTube, and you can watch. I'm not sure what's not showing up here, but is this just the audio recording on this one?
Just an audio recording.
Okay.
So this is the very first audio recording of 2020 where it began.
Okay, so this one was before we had our Zoom. So right now this is just audio. I have audio turned off on my computer to not cause interference with our Zoom channel. So you can't hear right now, but
The one, I got on there and liked a bunch of them.
there you go. Those who are interested, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and get updates. We're trying to have these posted shortly after our city council meetings. I can't promise the next day, but within that week, a few business days, we should be able to get these up and up and running. So we've made progress on that. The other item that I wanted to update you on, I don't have anything to show for this, but the other update I want to make is on our code enforcement. So we've been working with our new building official on code enforcement activities. He's reviewed the list that our prior employee was working on for code enforcement violations. He's developed a door hanger that he can provide notice to people of a potential violation. And then if that's not remedied, he'll work with our police department to make sure that code violation is cited. We've also had a meeting with our city attorney on addressing substandard or unsafe buildings. And we'll be hopefully taking some concrete action on those here in the next coming weeks. the direction I have given him thus far is to prioritize those buildings that are within the floodway or in the floodplain, as those represent a real serious hazard. And then from there, it's anything that's remains vacant or has been vacant for a long period of time, and then we'll progress from there as we get those remedies.
Reference page 14.
He's got a,
Yes, he did a little tag report of like vehicles he's tagged that needs to be taken care of, and several other violations, however many violations, that how much revenue he's created for the city, the number of permits, 6, and the number of permits working on are 26.
yeah, so
he's, you know,
he's a
keeping. and
busy
he's
man.
gonna
He is
report.
busy.
And he's gonna
He
do-
did about
he's gonna try
15
to do this
today.
report every month for us.
Good job.
So,
Since you're talking, can I?
Yeah.
No, I'll put it up for an upcoming agenda.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right, that's all I have for today. So,
You mentioned structures in the floodway. That's the priority.
yeah, that's the priority for those buildings that remain vacant and are a danger, as an area of focus.
Could you just say a 3-sentence description of what happens? Someone gets a notice and then they have to tear it down? and then if they don't-
There are a number of legal options that the city has to have those properties remedied. We can follow the building codes and have them inspected per the building codes and have them deemed unsafe that way. We can follow our public nuisance procedures through our municipal court to have those remedied. Or we have the opportunity to proceed legal action against those properties in a district court in Lockhart. Each has its own advantages, disadvantages, and we'll proceed under the advisement of our city attorney on which avenue that we would progress on, given the certain situation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jared? Okay, we'll move on to the financial report.
Okay, I see you guys have a copy of the financial report in your books there. You see cash balances as of today. General fund, street and road, court restricted, police, utilities, and such. Total $101,515 at First Lockhart Bank. You go on down into the section for the tax pool accounts, which is where the excess funds are stored. I hate to say invested, it's really just money market funds. You see the emergency fund at 222,000. You see the Public Funds Investment Act account at 541,515, and then the long-term capital fund at 95,114.
If I could, if you have questions on particular items, and if you want to have a one-on-one, we can arrange.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and
Just listen. You guys-
for sure, and I'll always try to stop at the end of each report and say, any questions? I did my own little math there on my phone. We have $960,492 in the bank today. Due the comptroller for excess fines, $321,126. So any questions on those bank balances as of 3 o'clock today?
So it looks like if we're taking all our, cash on hand, some of this is restricted, of course, but we're looking at, and it's different uses, but 100,000 in the bank, 222,000 in our emergency fund, and another 541,000 in different other accounts.
Yeah, and really of that, the only money that's really restricted there is that grant money. See that 152, the second number? And then the hotel tax, the 50. And the rest of that is, pretty much,
So we're definitely solvent.
yeah, for
Better
sure.
than the federal government. So,
Yeah. Okay, so, any questions on the bank balance?
I
Yes,
do
sir.
have a question, and it's probably already been covered, but the excess fines, is that carrying any interest at this?
It's not.
Okay. Just,
No,
Free loan.
just wanted to make sure.
it gets paid down $1,600, I think, this month. You know, depending on how much sales tax revenue we bring in, some months are much higher, like when the tubers are going crazy and everyone pays $1 tax or whatever it is, sales tax, well, that number goes up. In the winter, it's, not so much. So, yeah, okay. The next page would be the general fund, budget versus actual. We are 6 months through the year, so when you look at the far right column, kind of look at 50% as your standard. Obviously, property tax revenue has largely been collected. We got a report, I think, today or yesterday, and we are tracking right with last year and prior years on collections there. The only line item that, is significantly under is municipal court revenue. You see it's only 23%. But overall, revenues are good through the first half of the year. The next section is personnel costs. You see the various line items for wages, taxes, benefits. Personnel is at 38.8%, so that is well under budget. That contra account there, payroll reimbursement from utility, that's money that's reimbursing the general fund for the utility clerks. You see that's right at 50%, as it should be. Then you see all the operating expense line items. They're all pretty close. 37.8. Overhead reimbursement from utility, you see that's right at 50%. That's, mainly that's more cost for the city hall, the operation over there, my time, Jared's time, people that aren't directly taking the payments. On down, you see other expenses and contracts. The contracts, if you look at the total there, it's more than 50%, but you see a lot of the contractual expenses have already been incurred at 100% or thereabouts. One thing we have spent a lot on IT. You see line 8035, we spent 90% of our budget through 50% of the year. So that's something to consider going forward.
What is that on though?
It's been updating the police radios and stuff.
And
I was doing,
Getting new equipment for new.
is it from the police?
Radios are on a different line per se, but they have done a lot of work on the computers in the police vehicles, yes.
So that's where that charge is from.
I mean,
It's a combination of multiple charges. It's really the charges that our IT service provider charges us. So a lot of it is our regular monthly charges for our email and, data backup and things. But then we also have had significant charges for help desk calls, especially in the police department. That's some of the reference and making sure our computer system is synced up with CompSync. I'm sure the chief could tell you more about this. And we've also purchased a computer for a new employee as we staffed up. And so some of those costs are rolled in there. It is concerning the level of spending that we're having in this account. And we looking at that, projecting what the future needs are going to be, because that's more than we have spent on IT since I've been here in that short time.
We ought to
Do
get-
you think it's gonna level out eventually?
Not significantly, because our monthly cost is fairly high, so I imagine we're going to come back for approval to exceed budget on
Is
this.
there any way for our meeting on next Tuesday, I would like to request an itemized, like, amount of what's being spent where?
Yes.
Thank
there
you.
is. And I will say though, I think a lot of it has to do with increased headcount around here. You know, you bring new people on, it's new email addresses, it's getting computers, profiles and computers set up. There's, you know, there's a lot of that going on. I would venture to say it will probably level off, but will we come in under 100% of budget? Probably not.
You made me feel better. It says it's gonna level off.
Well, it'll level off to what it normally
I'll do
is,
that.
put it that way. So, yes, I'll mark that down. Maybe if you can help remind me, Adrian. Any other?
The street maintenance and repair, I think we just have to do some accounting on those costs for the different available funds that we use for street maintenance and repair with our sales tax.
I know everyone's upset that we've exceeded our street maintenance repair.
Yeah.
Probably not yet.
Where is street maintenance?
80.
I guess it's a good time to say so. I did talk to Donald with Caldwell County.
Oh.
We're still on schedule to have the overlay done this month.
Starting this month? Do you
This
have a
month.
day?
He said probably towards the end of the month. That's what he said. So depending on the
Okay.
weather, we're going to a drought. It's a good time to pave. So he told me it looks good for end of this month.
Okay, stay in touch with me.
Oh, I,
Okay. On down to the bottom line, you see we've brought in 188,000 more than we've expended so far. So that's good. The next report would be the vendor balance detail. This is just kind of detail of bills that have come in, or the positive numbers, and payments that have gone out, or the negative numbers. So you see the various payments there.
Where's the others on? This is the tip. It's just this.
Now there is Versio, 3,000. 2,000 last month. No, yeah, we paid the bill from last month of 2,000. We got in the bill for March of 3,000. Okay, any questions on those payments? Then next, it should be the utility fund. Utility fund is at 49%, so that's real close to even. The only line item that seems to be dragging down, one is solid waste is under budget a little bit, but those rates were just adjusted this last month, so that will, I'm sure, catch up before the end of the year. And late fees, I noticed we're not collecting what we expected there.
Our
Probably a good
utility
thing.
clerks are really good at calling people.
Yeah, Carmen's real good. I mean, we get down to the end and there's maybe only one person that gets
Yeah,
disconnected.
Letty's real good too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good thing. You see expenses, 165, 759, total expenses year to date, 52% of budget. So that looks good on plan. All right, next, expenditures out of that fund. The utilities and such. Okay, any questions there? And the last report is the special revenue fund. This is where the additional money is for road expenses. But anyway, you see the revenue is $23,884 has come in through March. And if you go on down a little further, I wanted to show that Where's that, street and road repair? See, we have another 24,000 on line 8080.
Good.
to spend.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure where the expense of that overlay is gonna go in all of this, because it's gonna be higher than any of these line items.
The previous city council action was to use our capital improvement fund for that.
Okay, very good.
That's our long-term one.
And I think you all mentioned we might use some of the hotel tax money on some of the events. So those are in those first three line items under expense: advertising, art programs, and signage. That's where the money's available for those things. Okay, that is all I have for finances. Oh, I went to Public Funds Investment Act training last month. I have to do that every 2 years, and so I went through that, and I'm all official again with those folks. So, all right.
Good report. Thank you, sir.
He has one of the candidates. The question was, he asked, what was Jimmy making? He was one of our candidates for police chief, and we paid his mileage.
Is that mileage that you have to pay?
Yeah, that's
Or
what,
flight or something, yeah. I don't remember where he came from.
Alabama.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're ready for the police report.
So I'll answer some of that stuff about the computers real quick. So what happened in the first couple of weeks of April, the computers went down completely. They weren't working. So I went out and got a quote to get some new computers to replace the old ones we've had. And that quote was like $24,000 to replace those. And that's everything that's set up and go, right? That's computers, printers, in the cars and everything else. So I thought that was a lot. Talked to Bo at Versio, and we got them all three. I just picked them up today. So we have all three computers back now, and they're working, and he says they'll last for a couple more years. So at least we can get some more use out of them. He extended the RAM in them and so forth. So that saved us some money there. I know it was a lot for them to do it. I don't know what they charge. I have no idea what they charge to do all that stuff.
So the original computers, were they specific computers you have to get for your cars? And you have to buy them in a certain place?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. So they're tough books, and we go through CopSync, which is it provides all the in-car computer stuff and our report writing service. So that's that. So that, I think that'll answer some of that question, why those calls for the help desk, because it just kept going down. You're in the middle of a traffic stop and it just goes down, and it was just frustrating, and you couldn't do anything. You were stuck. And so hopefully that got that back up. We're working on getting some new hotspots. So that'll make the cars all where they're both good. They're both good. I got to pick up 2 more things from him tomorrow. He's in Austin. So I'm driving to Austin and picking those stuff up. So he don't have to charge us for a trip to come here, but he charges us every time he comes here. So I'll just drive there and pick it up myself. That being said, we had the computers were down for 2 weeks of the month. Wrote 54 total citations, 38 which were violations, 16 of which were warnings. Working with the judge and the court system, they're not reading our warnings. There was some discrepancy last month on the number of citations and warnings, and we talked about it again today, and that same discrepancy there. So we got to figure out what is going on there. He's not showing any of the warnings, and it's not syncing up. I'm not
Did you
sure.
show the violations?
He showed this time, he showed the number of violations.
So y'all match?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And like I say, that will go up. Rick Sanchez. Rick Sanchez, this is going to be our new officer, one of our new officers. He started yesterday. Yesterday was his first day. We're working on getting equipment and so forth for him right now. Can't buy equipment until after they're hired, so it's going to take a little bit for the equipment to come in. Jared and I have been discussing that, and
plan for the police department, procedures, policies, that kind of?
Yes, I have, yes, ma'am. So I already have a policy book, but as soon as I get someone, we should give it to Rick right now. But I will wait till everybody gets on board, and I'll have the policies and y'all will see them.
And is he onboarding as a reserve?
No, he's full-time.
He's full-time,
Yes, ma'am.
a full-time officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool.
And during the day, that we're gonna be able
Yes.
to see somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
Retiredness, not seeing.
No, you will see him.
Yeah.
You're never outside. Every time I drive by, you're never outside. I'm gonna have to pull up in your yard, get my air
I'm
horn.
never out at night.
No, yes, ma'am.
Could you discuss briefly about the vehicles? I know we have a new primary vehicle, which most likely he will use during the day, which would you use? And then we've got the 3 other vehicles, 2 of which are
Okay, so
destined to go away.
we have 2 vehicles. So we have the Explorer and the Tahoe, which are totally equipped. We're gonna move the computers in every night so that they sit back here and they get updated, and things like that. So we have that plan for those. What we're gonna do with those cars out there is, I have 2 day shift officers and a night shift and myself at nighttime. We're just gonna rotate those. So one week he will drive on his 4 days on, he will drive the, let's just say the Tahoe. And then the next time he comes back, he'll drive the Explorer, and it'll be back and forth. So we're gonna hot seat those cars. That's all we have. Those other 2 we can get rid of. There's one out there, if I knew a really good mechanic. The motor's good in one, the interior's good in the other. Like to take the motor and put it in one, but that's cost prohibitive right now, I think, with the funds. So we can just hold off to it, and we can sell them, but we won't make enough to buy another vehicle, so it would be, we just sell them and get rid of them and I know it's an eyesore, but at least we got the way they're parked now, I can get both the other vehicles out of the sun and out of the weather, and they're underneath the awnings. And it keeps them protected with all the electronics inside.
So in your professional opinion, if we did an engine swap, would that be a viable vehicle?
It would be a viable vehicle to move around town, not really for, it'd be a viable vehicle to move around if you need it for something blocking traffic, just getting around, traveling, but not going out. I don't believe, someone would have to inspect it first. That vehicle hasn't been moved in a long time, so I don't know what the suspension and everything would be like. I know the suspension on the other one is shot.
So I mean, if we had a third off, if we need another car, it would not be sufficient.
If we had a reserve riding around, yes, it would work.
It would work.
Yes.
We'll probably use it for things, I imagine, for like the 4th of July parade, and we're using it for like
Correct.
traffic patrol or traffic control.
In
But we
town.
wouldn't, what I'm hearing, it's been mentioned to me a number of times, is not really serviceable for doing traffic patrol work on the highway, yeah.
We'd use it for
If you need to block a road off, you need it to do work, like the things you're talking about in there for the blocking off streets and doing things like that, that would be perfect for that. It would give us another vehicle for that.
I have one comment about the park usage during the day. Alan Bates, the parking lot's completely full. Phase 1 down by the bridge in 1979 is also used a lot. We do have about 6 butter sticks, the limestone blocks that are there. On one of the limestone blocks, there's a sign that says no vehicles beyond this point. It has since been tagged with graffiti, so people don't see it, but there's 2 garbage cans there. And what people are doing is they're driving to the far right of the butter sticks and then going down to the bank of the river in their vehicles to disembark their boats. So we may move that butter stick over, but that would be something that would be a visitation during the day in the peak of the summer use.
And I'm there on the weekends. I go down there and I walk down to at Alan Bates, I walk down to the river and stay down there, be visible and let people see me and so forth.
Good. Thank you.
any good tales, any 107 mile per hour?
Nah, I did get there was a motorcycle traveling on Northwest River Road at 72.
72.
And at 30.
2:30 in the morning?
Yes, at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, my.
That could be a life lesson.
It was quick. He was going quick.
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask, what type of like meetings or processes are in place to build relationships with our judges that are here, our sheriff? Is there something already in the works? Have you met with them or any of the judges or like what?
I have not. I've talked to the patrol officers that are out here we're working side by side with. I've talked to them. As soon as I can get all of our staff on board and we can all go around and meet with everyone and I can bring the sheriff's office, hey, this is our schedule. This is what we're doing. This is our coverage. I think going there with empty handed is going to be premature. Honestly, that's my thoughts at this point.
And do you think that whenever you are like have your process implement, and that doesn't mean to advertise everything like on a like on a website, but just like, you know, I know you have like the newsletter, but like a department page that, you know, just introduces you as our chief of police, like our officers with their face, just to know like what's going on here. Because sometimes residents don't even know like who the officers are or what's going on. Like that doesn't mean everything like address, where you live, who you know, not any of that, but here's who's new in the department, exciting news, Martindale gets officers, or will there be a department page?
I don't know about a department
Yeah.
page. We would have to,
There already is one.
but we will add their names and so forth and pictures and introduce them to the community. Absolutely.
If I could insert on that, Chief Ward, he's on the side of the police page.
Uh-huh.
So you can see the Chief Ward is.
Good.
It's good to get a register. for police officers.
Good.
You got a picture?
Also had a question.
Yes,
If
sir.
somebody had a concern, like Mr. Clinton did, is there a place that we can reach out to the officers? Like, for instance, to move that butter stick to the side instead of,
Probably the Parks Department would move that. That would be their job.
That's a giant rock. I mean,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah,
specific
absolutely.
form.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, so the city has a couple of ways to contact us if you need services. You're on our webpage. If you have a general complaint, like, you know, the butter stick issue in the park, you can click the report an issue. If you need a law enforcement presence and it's not an emergency, the non-emergency dispatch phone number is right there on our homepage. So if you, for those who might need that, and don't know, can't remember it or haven't saved it to your phone, martindale.texas.gov, it's on the left-hand side, non-emergency contact. That dispatch number dispatches not only our police department, but they also do the county sheriff's office, and they can get in contact of other law enforcement. So if something arises where we may not have an officer on shift, but you still need assistance, they can dispatch, and depending on what the nature of it is, I can't commit to a time response, but you know, that's the way to get in contact with the city and request city services, either police or other.
the ball's rolling from where it was before. That's all. Like I say, we're moving forward.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Okay, and Judge Fusco will report next week. Boards and commissions, I don't believe we have any reports on any of those.
Not on the agenda. So open meetings, if it's on the agenda, you can talk about it. It's not. Let's say you have to give a description of what you intend to talk about. And by the time
Did
the
Joy-
agenda was created,
Oh,
I did not have any notice of what kind of subject is going to be discussed.
We only got it an hour before the
Oh,
meeting
okay.
started.
so we'll put it on the next.
We've played probably a little too fast and loose with that rule in the past, and
Yeah.
our new city clerk is fresh on the training, and he's on the job, and he's helping us make sure we don't run afoul of any state law.
Right.
So you're saying if someone from the Parks Advisory Committee then wanted to say something, there has to be something encapsulated on the agenda that shows that that's what he's going to talk about?
According to
correct.
the open meetings.
Everything but a meeting, that when the council meets, that rule applies. And
Like under my
we're going to
mayor's
readdress
report,
that
if it's
in
not
the meeting.
listed,
It has
then
to
I
be done
can't talk
72
about it.
hours prior.
Yes.
Yes.
So that,
And we're trying to get reports from the boards and commissions. They're shy.
We'll talk about it a little bit on one of the latter agenda items.
Okay. So we'll move on to new business. The first one is nomination and selection of mayor pro tem. Since this is a brand new election cycle, we start all over again each year. So nominations are now open for mayor pro tem.
Sonia, are you still interested in staying mayor pro tem?
I am. I feel like it's, something that I do take just very seriously. I know, the seriousness of it. I try to do my homework. I try to be prepared. I know that there's some faces in here that have gone to my house. I'm approachable, and I feel like I'm able to work through, whatever respectfully, even though I may agree to disagree, but I think I still do it in a respectful manner.
I agree. And I'd like to nominate Sonia Villalobos for mayor pro tem.
Okay, so we have a nomination. Are there any other nominations? Anybody else
Anybody
interested?
volunteering? All right, I make a motion that we vote in Sonia Villalobos as mayor pro tem.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, now we can move on to nomination and selection of chair and vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'd like to stay vice chair.
So I would like to nominate Mike McLeod as chair, and I would like to nominate Jan Bunker as vice chair to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Are you okay?
I'm okay with that. I'm still learning. I will, Lisa's been very helpful, and I will attempt or try to improve that situation and learn as we go. Because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike.
I haven't asked you, are you interested in any of these positions?
Just along for the ride right now,
Okay.
learning as it goes here.
I
So,
wanted to make
yes,
sure
ma'am.
that
No.
we're not leaving you out.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, speak up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is first, first
Yeah.
what?
give me a couple minutes here.
He's gonna get his toes acclimated in the water.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, next, jumping in there, yay. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to number 3, appointment. No, we already did that one. We appointed Adrian as our permanent
Yes.
city clerk. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one, which is the approval of police uniform and personal equipment expenditures to exceed the budgetary limit for fiscal year 2022.
Yeah, so with, as a way of the starting point, our uniform expenses, as we budgeted for the beginning of the year, was $1,000 for that particular line item, which was generally how much we had spent. Now, we've gone through a significant turnover in our police department. We're taking a number of hiring activities. And so we need to buy uniforms, personal protective equipment, and other items that would come out of that uniform expense. I will note that on at least on here, we still had our vehicle purchase line item. So we might be able to tap into that. The other, that was $8,000. The other place where we can fill a gap is the American Recovery Plan Act that provided the city initial disbursement of $157,000 under the interim rules published by the Treasury Department, I believe, might have been HUD, by the federal government, stated that you could only use those funds for a certain amount of things, had to be towards healthcare with COVID, infrastructure with broadband, sewer, water, or other sort of things. They have since come out at the end of February 28th, I believe, and issued a final rule that reduced the paperwork and burdens on small cities and like ourselves. So if any government unit, cities, counties, states that receive, well, probably won't be a state, any city, county that received less than $10 million from the federal government out of that American Recovery Plan Act bucket of funding can take an exemption that says all those funds count as revenue recovery. You don't have to prove revenue recovery. It's just revenue recovery. So basically what they've done is saying, we give you less than $10 million, use it as you wish. And then and our reporting functions that we're required to do annually is we've used these funds as revenue recovery. So that lifts some of the burden. So that's another potential area of funding to address a requirement like this, where we're projecting to exceed our budget. In this case, we're looking for an additional $7,500 on top of the $1,000 we have total. So a total of $8,500 should be enough to get a police department with 3 officers, the chief and 2 others, plus an additional 3 reservists, uniformed and personal protective equipment. And that's what I'm looking for from city council, is for now to exceed that budgetary limit of $1,000 to buy that equipment. And then as we look for,
This is just a one-time request.
this is a one-time request.
And you can either get the money from this, that vehicle purchase, so that used to be 12,000, so we've already spent some of it.
Well, actually, what we did was right after the budget or right during the budget season. I'll have to go back and check our math. So we decided, instead of doing, then when the budget was written in our draft, it was for a lease program. This would be our annual lease payment, essentially. Well, we went ahead and bought the vehicle in cash. Now we don't have a lease payment anymore. And so that's another, wedge that's in our budget that we could probably make use of if it turns out that still exists.
Will a line item for uniforms still exist if we're cleaning them? Does the city pay to clean the uniforms?
No, but we do pay to replace them if they, or if they get, if they get destroyed to the point where they're no longer serviceable, then the city pays for them. Regular maintenance of the uniforms, if they need to patch the knee or, depending on what the severity is, if they've blown out their knee or something, we'll give them new pants. But if it's, dry clean or laundering, it's up to them.
Okay. So actually what you're needing.
So what I'm asking for is to exceed the budgetary limit for the uniform expenses by $7,500.
Are you sure that's gonna be enough? Even if we get a new person?
That should cover us for 6 people.
Was 1,000 for one person?
1,000 was for 2 people.
Oh, yeah.
For 2 people, budgeted for 2 people? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve of a police uniform and personnel equipment expenditures to exceed the budgetary limit for the fiscal year 2022.
By $7,500.
$7,500.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Yes, just for the sake of I know that, and I'm in agreement with, having to supply our officers with the, the proper attire and uniform and stuff, but I just find it odd that we just do a blanket amount and we don't have any type of quotes, or we don't have it from any type of uniform shop, or just something to say like, it would be this much, here, or this is what we're looking at, without having any kind of numbers in front of us. And it's just like, whenever you divide 8,500 by 6 officers, that's how much per officer?
So what I've talked with the police chief, what I know the numbers to be is roughly $2,700 for 3 bulletproof vests.
Uh-huh.
And then it's about another, what is it? Times 2, because you're just looking at doing 6, that gets us to 5,200. And because sizing and things aren't known, they can't give us exact quotes on the vests and things. So on the uniforms, it's about another $3,000. So that gets us about 8,500. There's a little bit of fluff in there. Who we use for our uniform purchasing is it's a company that does it for police agencies all around. So I'm confident we're getting market prices that we get. I don't have a physical quote for all those uniforms to give you because we don't have those.
That expense report when you do make the.
Yeah, we can do that.
And, just because like we are like by the river, it is so hot. Maybe there's some different, maybe that's time to start looking at, maybe,
Lighter.
yeah, something where they're.
Sure they can.
So one of I know.
But I know with that.
Ward's still here or not, if he's, Chief, if you're listening, what he's communicated to me is right now you've seen him tonight. He has a buttoned up shirt, kind of like in the military, it's kind of like a Class B's kind of uniform, with a dressish slack. What he wants to do is go to a more breathable uniform where instead of wearing the bulletproof vest underneath the clothing, it's now outside the clothing with a little bit more of a tactical look and a little bit better breathability and comfort for the summers. And it's, I believe, three summer tops, 2 long sleeves, and like 3 pairs of pants or something like that.
No shorts?
No, we could. If you want to, city council wants our guys in UPS shorts, like a Reno 911.
Yeah.
If they have any suggestions, I'm sure they'll come at us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we had a bike patrol, then yeah, maybe, but we don't have a bike patrol.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Okay, Sam, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Sonia?
Yes.
And Jan and Mike made the motion and seconded it, right?
We have no.
Oh, Nick.
It's fine.
Nick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous. It carries. I couldn't see you. Okay, so there's one more discussion item. And Jared and I have discussed this, so.
Yeah, so what I recommended to the mayor, and there's no action to be taken tonight, but I want to get a sense from city council whether this would be something you're interested or not, is looking for ways to improve the efficiency of city council meetings. It is now 9 o'clock. We've been here a long time tonight. We skipped the boards and commission reports tonight, and it still took 45 minutes, almost on the dot, 44 minutes to get through the reports this evening. So as we, the mayor, myself, and Adrian are looking at future agenda items and trying to plan out what sort of things we need to discuss over the summer, quickly becoming full and realizing this report section is a way that we might be able to gain some efficiencies in time to make room for more discussion action topics. Yeah, question.
Can we have these reports done monthly And just sent via email?
Exactly. So
That would be fun.
what many cities do is they will
Like
put these,
more communication.
yeah, they'll put the reports, as we've started with a single packet of all the read aheads. We're going to get better at this. Part of the resolution will address that as well. But it will include the reports, like the administrator's report, much like you saw the building officials
Yes.
portion in here. My report would be included in there. If there's other reports, the court report, the police report, the boards and commissions reports, those would all be on paper, reviewed at the time that the agenda gets published. And if it doesn't make the agenda, it doesn't, you're on to the next one. And then it would be part of a consent agenda where the city council could, along with, accounts payable or prior minutes or something like this, it's, consent agenda of approve all reports. And want to get, there's a value to that in time, but there's also a value in some discussion and us, the community, staying informed on some other topics. So that's why I thought it would be appropriate to discuss it with the whole council. What are your thoughts?
Written reports, what do y'all think?
I think it's a great idea. I think honestly, if you have that and people can premeditate the reports and have what they want to say on those reports, that way we're not interjecting while somebody else is speaking. I know I've been to other council meetings where it's red light, green light. When there's a green light, you can interject. When there's a red light, and you can interject. Red light.
Yeah.
That will speed the process up a lot too, because there are tangents which are needed. There should be discussions within this board, but also it needs to be a more efficient process as we go along, as if we want to grow within this too. So that's something I would definitely bring up in that.
Okay. I don't know, we'll look at red light, green light options.
Definitely different options for that. It's just an idea.
Yeah.
Brainstorming.
So
session.
I would like to interject if I may. So I know that there's some communities that do have a planning agenda workshop prior to the meeting. And that way the discussion is all done beforehand. And then during the council meeting, there's just the action that's taking place. And the discussion is, going on at the workshop. And then I also would like to say, I know that our past city council meetings were always done at 6:30 due to there was time constraints, but I'm always good for having it earlier if everybody can have it earlier than 6:30.
It's the long distance. people that have-
I could do it earlier than 6:30 if we moved it to Mondays. That would be the only,
Oh, okay, that's right.
And you gotta drive.
well, it's when I get off
And what
the
about
clock.
Yeah.
Q2?
Yeah, I don't know what it is,
So
I forgot what it is.
Y'all be willing to even change a day?
We do workshops on Mondays, have a workshop lunch. Prior to the Tuesday meeting, I'd be open to that. You could always do the workshop the day before.
Oh, do a workshop?
If it means this goes quicker, yeah,
Yes.
I'm cool dispersing the time amongst the week.
That's why I feel like read aheads and homework is.
Read ahead is good. It's also a lot, it's really hard for people to concentrate for more than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Once you
This
get,
is a short, we've had
oh,
some.
absolutely, but it's really hard for people to bring quality to the table if it's longer than an hour and a half,
Yes.
2 hours. Then it turns into being, all right, let's get this going, and it's everybody in here is
Okay,
feeling
well,
like that, so.
Let's at least get rid of the reports.
The other item on here, unless there's any discussion on the reports themselves, is on the agenda materials. What I've seen has been very valuable in other places is cover pages for all discussion action items. And that cover page would be basically a staff recommendation that would provide, a short couple sentences. Here's background of the topic. Here's the references to applicable city ordinances or state statutes by, reference number, and then a recommendation, and then discussion about the recommendation, and then a proposed motion. That way, when you're getting I'll pick on myself, when you're getting a PowerPoint presentation from me and you're like, what the heck is this? First off, it's got to be done 72 hours in advance, and I've failed to do that on many occasions. But the other item is, okay, what am I supposed to get out of this? Is sometimes the question. Okay, thanks for the information. Now what? So having a cover page for each agenda item will help you understand, okay, what am I supposed to get out of it? What am I supposed to consider? What action are we trying to take with this, if there is one? And then a staff recommendation on what the motion is. And then in the meeting, you don't have to follow that recommendation, but then it's also written out for you, so you know what.
If we got a point, we got a problem with one of the items, we can just discuss it, say,
Yeah, when it's like, we have a motion, yep, any discussion? That's when you pipe up, have further discussion. But for those items where, the presentation kind of laid it all out, I don't really have any questions. Maybe if we did a workshop session, and got all the questions answered, come into this meeting, boom, 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 we just vote, and then we're just mostly a voting session instead of a discussion.
Right.
Or less, I think the discussion is valuable. I don't want to prohibit the discussion, but I think it would also help council members be more informed prior to the meeting. That way, some of the more basic questions are
Discussion may
addressed.
be just out for the people in public, explaining what we're doing and voting for.
Right.
perhaps before we get to a workshop, maybe we can streamline this, like you said, and maybe we can reduce the time on city council without having a workshop if it's streamlined like that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We could read it ahead of time, and
It
if we have a problem with the presentation, we could always email you back, say, hey, this, or something.
So what I'll do is I'll take this feedback. In my mind, it makes sense to memorialize that in a resolution we can present and for you guys to consider.
Yeah, come up with, if you come up with something new, that's fine.
Yeah.
And just ask, put on their comments about the new agenda and
We probably won't have all the read aheads perfectly ready for the next meeting. The next meeting is going to be a doozy.
Yeah,
oh, it is.
everything we could put into this one went to the next one.
Because
Well,
I do the meetings, we had a lot going on.
We had a lot going on and we only had our discussion action are all pretty short little discussion action items. And we didn't get to it till 8:45. 8:43 is when we finally got to a discussion action. That's 2 hours after the fact. So.
And I noticed you don't have future items on here, thank goodness.
Yes.
And I had
So-
something that I wanted.
So you can
I got
always,
something too. so-
every single council
Email.
member can email the mayor and request it to be on the next available agenda. But I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I thought that we had created a board that we were writing
do.
on with dates. There's a board in there that if we have an agenda item, we write it on the board and then put the date when you would like to discuss it.
But see, like earlier this evening, I asked a question when it came to events. I was told I could not ask about it because due to time, but yet other items that were on the agenda were discussed at length. I believe that it's important, to have discussion with council members, with the public present, and the way that it is. So was it just because of the meeting tonight that we had that we're not asking for agenda items, or did we move to this new board and that's solely how we're supposed to request for upcoming agenda items? I need to know, that way I could follow protocol and procedure.
So that's, what I usually do is I have a template. And I think that got cut off. So it was not intentional, it was just a. So that was not done out of anybody directing me creating the agenda. So by all means, you can still submit requests to be on the agenda to our email chain that we
Right.
have.
I think the particular issue of discussing upcoming event permits is in the report section of an agenda. Because we're breaking,
Big discussions in those,
we're probably
overstepping our bounds.
getting into some gray areas that we should probably get out of. And so on a policy issue like that, where there's going to be more of a policy setting type of day. Better to have on a discussion action. How we set that, I think is, like you said, this is oversight, but we can add it to the board.
I have a couple of things.
Email,
Email or
all
just
three
call?
of us.
Email it, just email it to you.
It would be better to have an email,
Okay, we can do
Yeah,
that.
try to get everything.
so we have a
right.
paper trail.
Sam, I'll help.
Yeah, with the computer.
So we'll do all of our future agenda items requests, we'll go by email.
I would prefer that, yes.
And see, and then I just like for clarity on the reports, either there can be questions so we could follow up and ask, or there's not going to be any questions on reports.
I think,
I don't think that we should,
Away with the.
well, like the mayor's report, the city administrator's report. I think if we as council members have questions, that would be the appropriate time to ask about it. So either we're gonna do it for all, for every report, we can't just pick and choose topics that we
I
wanna
think-
ask.
I think I preferred not to have any discussion this time because this is a big topic and I wanted to present it and that way y'all can look at it. And I think at a future time, we can, at a workshop, work through it because there's a number of things to work through.
I'll look into the issue of question and answer
I-
during reports.
And see, and I understand that, but then we're solely leaving up to a person's discretion or whomever is making the decision on whether to answer a question, not clarify or whatever. So I just want to make sure that, we're not just picking and choosing what we want to answer. It needs to be across the board for every report, for everyone, or we can.
Right, I agree.
Okay, I'll entertain a
I
motion.
make a
for-
motion that we adjourn the city council
I'll
meeting.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. And all those in favor, please say aye.
At 9:10, aye.
Yeah.